Are hospitality degrees worth it? That's a question that many students have on their minds. Welcome to Zista Podcast, where we invite industry professionals and thought leaders to answer burning queries raised by students. In this episode, we're going to focus on hospitality, and we have with us today Mr. Sarosh Daruwalla. I'm your host Amit Ahuja, and we're kicking off this session right now. Thank you for this, for making time and coming for this episode, Sarosh.
Thank you, Amit. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure.
I know you're a busy man as the country head for Les Roches, Glion Ecole Ducasse. You have lots on your hand. You're constantly traveling, and thank you for making time in your schedule to come back and meet us and help us produce one more episode where we are answering a question that I see a lot of students, asking. So they're sitting on the fence, they're not sure, and they're wondering, should I, shouldn't I? Is hospitality right for me? Is a degree in hospitality really worth it? And any light that you can shed on this matter, I think would really help a lot of students in their journey.
Great. Actually, yes, I have seen some evolution in thinking over the years. I think that today a career in hospitality is critically important for a student to consider, not just consider, but actually make it their first choice. Okay? Hospitality, as you know, while many people wrote off this industry as being defunct and dead in the water because of COVID, the opposite holds true today. In fact, if you look at the people that actually were able to make a career or work successfully, were home bakers. I mean, think about it. It's the one industry which continues to work because it's a people business.
Right.
People will always need people. You need somebody in front of you. You need a face, you need an answer, and you need a service. Not just if you go to a hotel, but if you go to a store, if you go to anything, you go to buy a car, if you go in for financial services, you need service, and service equals hospitality. Okay. Also, what's happened is that today it is a business degree. You're learning business skills, analytical skills, operational skills, and it's a profession. So, profession plus business skills and business degree, what does that make you? Essentially employable. And with hospitality, if you think about it, being the second largest employers, of course the largest employers in the world are governments, but hospitality being a close second, there's no better time than to consider a career in hospitality than now. Also, with careers transcending not just hotels and restaurants as we traditionally knew, hospitality or hotel management to be, it's now the experience industry with careers in events, luxury retail, luxury brand management, international event management, real estate, airlines, social media marketing, working with the internet aggregator companies, because hospitality skills are so transferable that you have a really wide palette of careers to choose from. I'm seeing more and more, and as through my travels, when I speak to high school counselors, who advise young students on their careers, for a student who would traditionally choose just a business degree,
right.
I think this elevates your business degree because you actually have a job at the end of it. Whereas if you just did a business degree, what would you do? You'd have to really hunt around to find an area where you would fit in. So this is learning a generic business degree with all the business skills like complex problem solving, critical thinking, decision making,
right.
all your leadership skills. And in addition to that, you have there's a profession attached to it. So you've done internships as part of your learning. You've got great soft skills. You've got the business skills. I think that leads to a very, very successful career, whether it is professional, that is working for someone else, or being an entrepreneur.
In fact, I was reading an interesting article which actually said that a lot of the new age entrepreneurs are actually focusing on building a business which is squarely in the hospitality space or in some way related to it. So either you're starting your own hotel, starting your own restaurant, or even looking at getting something, getting into food services. Are you seeing that as a trend that's accelerating?
I mean, the career opportunities are endless. From, like I said, being professional to being an entrepreneur, and even if you have, if, let's say, just one example, if food and beverage was your specialization, well, you could go into kitchen equipment supply, designs, interior design, you could go into
supplying the ingredients or the
absolutely,
wines.
Absolutely. You could go into the beverage distribution business. It's wine sommelier. There's just so much of opportunity for a creative, individual. It's just presents, such a lot of opportunity, which, as the student goes through a program of education, they realize their strengths, their weaknesses, and of course opportunities, because as you know, the industry is growing, and we're seeing some, tectonic shifts, with a lot of tech companies like Apple also going into customer-facing businesses like credit card,
Right.
and things. So I think really what a hospitality education does is, while it prepares you for a career, in hotels and the other sectors that I spoke about, I think it also future-proofs your education, because you learn to evolve and adapt.
Correct.
And with the skills, that the basic inherent skills of hospitality being so transferable, I think that helps a young student future-proof their education. And while we see automation pushing so many people out of jobs, because machines can do repetitive jobs, as we know, much more efficiently than humans, but hospitality represents the human element of interaction, of experience, and humans will always need humans. You need somebody in front of you.
There's no doubt there.
I don't think you can replace that. So while tech will help deliver that better experience, and by culling data, doing smart data analysis and analytics, and you could even predict future trends with it, and all the other things that tech brings, like virtual and augmented reality, all of these things. But I think people skills, we must not forget this is a people industry. So I think that should be the baseline from which everything else comes.
Great. Let me ask you one more question, and I'd love to hear your view on this. So Indian students and Indian parents tend to be ROI focused, right? So they make an investment, and then when they graduate, they typically ask, so how much will my son or my daughter make? And you often hear that, okay, if you did a degree in, say, finance versus if you did a degree in hospitality, your starting salary in hospitality would be a little lower. But what's your view from a long-term perspective? Does that even matter, or do you think that's something that students should be paying close attention to?
Hospitality is an education. Hospitality is a career. I don't think that a student should look at return on investment. Yes, while there is a perception that hotels and hospitality traditionally pays slightly lower salaries than other industries perhaps might, you've got to remember that the hotels are actually investing in training you as an individual. So actual cost to company is significantly higher, because you would have accommodation, you would have
Have
your
a uniform,
uniforms, you would have your
right.
meals on duty, you'll get your transportation if it was at odd hours. So I think really to say that it's unequal would be unfair to the industry. I think industry has also realized that they have to be competitive in order to attract the best talent. Any industry, whether you become a doctor, I mean, whatever field you choose, I think hard work is an integral part in all industry and in all careers. So, and I think actually hospitality prepares you for that far better than sitting in a classroom and doing classroom learning. Because in hospitality of internships, where you get out into the industry and put into practice what you've learned at industry hours, which could be often early in the morning and finish late at night. So I think that for a student, actually, you come out much stronger. The investment, the return on investment in hospitality is over your lifetime. I think it becomes a way of life, a lifestyle.
Right.
And
A
as
certain
you
way
rise,
of conducting yourself, perhaps?
yes, a certain comportment. I think that's important. I mean, as someone who's worked in the industry and someone who's got friends and colleagues across the spectrum in this industry, I'd say that they are well reimbursed, because the industry, as I said, also understands that if you don't, you won't be able to retain them. So we've also seen this shift, because hoteliers were notoriously poor paymasters, and but I think that transformation has happened and is happening. It's happened much quicker in other parts of the world. It's happening quicker now in India. So I think it's a time to be optimistic rather than delve into old typical stereotypes. I think young people today are keen to make sound careers, grounded.
Follow their passion.
Do things, and today parents are more willing to let their children do that. I think that's also more important, because there's a certain acceptance of hospitality as a career. 30 years ago, education and hotel management was probably no place for a young lady. Today you've got equal number, if more numbers of young women who are entering and young girls who are entering this profession. So clearly we've seen huge change, and this is all positive.
Absolutely.
It's all positive, and to anybody listening, I would say that there is such a lot of opportunity today to pursue your passion and to find your niche, to find your strengths and to build on that. It's never been better than this at any time. Gosh, makes me want to be younger, yeah, to try new things, because absolutely today it's gone mainstream.
Absolutely. As a country head, you're always interacting with young students, and I would imagine that just being in their company would keep you young.
Oh, absolutely.
I remember interacting with a gentleman who was an F&B manager, and he actually said something which is actually in sync with what you said. So he said that when I graduated, I started earning maybe a little lesser than some of my other friends who have chosen other streams. But now, as he became an assistant manager and then a manager, he's making roughly the same amount of money as other people are making in other industry.
I just think that regardless of what you choose as your career, if you're good at it,
you will be paid well.
Absolutely.
And that actually makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter what you're do. To the young person listening, do what your heart tells you. Follow your heart. Today is the best time to do it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're not stuck, with stereotypical career paths that our parents typically chose for us.
Right.
Today, there's so much more opportunity, and parents are willing to explore and let their children also, follow an education and discover themselves and their passions, because usually when you do something that you enjoy, you traditionally will do well at it.
Absolutely.
And succeed.
Thank you. I think this was really important for you to kind of address this, because this is maybe a a thought, or think something that may be on a student's mind, but we've literally taken the bull by the horns, because when you're talking about is a degree in hospitality worth it, one of the things which is there in the background is, will I be paid well? And I think you've addressed that in a very holistic manner, if I can say. And I think you've also highlighted how it's important to not just be short-sighted and only think about one aspect, but to look at the bigger picture, look at those different elements that are at play, and really following something which is true to your heart, to answering your calling. And I think that's really important. So if I were to ask you to summarize, if now is a good time to study hospitality, if a degree in hospitality is worth it, would you like to maybe give us a small summary to kind of bring this to a good conclusion?
Yes, Amit. I think now is a great time to study hospitality for all the reasons that I mentioned. One is that it's growing. Despite COVID, the industry has shown it has tremendous resilience. Companies in this industry stayed invested. Yes, it was tragic when some livelihoods were lost, but we see all around us that there's rampant hiring to levels higher than what they were pre-COVID. So that's very comforting. Opportunities are more. It has become, the industry is global in its outlook, with not just foreign companies looking into India, but Indian companies looking and spreading their wings internationally. So those geographical boundaries that traditionally restricted people in this industry are dissolving, because the industry is getting more technical, more specific, people having better skills, all leading to better mobility, better careers, and better futures.
Wow, I think that was a great summary, and I'd like to thank you for making time in your day and coming down and talking to us about this subject. It's something that we see surfacing every now and then, and I think you've done a really good job in actually clarifying a lot of the doubts and misconceptions that students may be having. I hope you enjoyed this show. We want to keep creating content which adds value to students and answers the queries that are raised by students who are looking for a right fit program at the undergrad and postgrad level. So if you have any query which is related to hospitality or any other subject area, please leave us a comment and we'll cover that in a future episode. Till then, our advice would be stay curious.